This story is based on two best friends who fall in love with the same guy, and both of them cross every limit just to hook up with him. What happens between the three of them after that is what we are going to see in today's explanation. We first follow Kate. She's an elementary school teacher, the kind who actually tries to make class interesting. During a lesson, she notices one student in the back not paying attention at all. He's reading a comic instead of listening. Instead of calling him out, Kate leans into it. She asks him to come up and read the comic to the class. The kids love it. Even Kate ends up listening along, clearly enjoying the moment. That's when it goes wrong. The principal walks in and sees what's happening. Later, he calls Kate into his office. At first, he sounds polite, almost flattering. He talks about her appearance, her eyes, how she stands out. Then it becomes obvious what he's really saying. He thinks she doesn't fit the image he wants for the school. By the time the conversation ends, Kate no longer has a job. The movie then cuts to Meg, who's having a bad day of her own. She works in sales and is pitching a video product to a client. The room is cold from the start. Nothing she says lands. The client shuts the idea down completely. Annoyed and embarrassed, Meg walks out. Outside, things somehow get worse. Her car is being towed for illegal parking. She watches it disappear. Later, Meg gets back to the apartment, clearly trying to forget everything that happened. She's dancing around with the dog, forcing herself into a better mood. Kate walks in and sees this, and that's when we learn they live together and have been friends for years. Meg immediately unloads. She talks about the failed meeting and losing her car. Kate listens, then quietly adds that she got fired the same day. The next morning, Meg has already decided what needs to happen. She wakes Kate up early and says they need to leave town and clear their heads. Kate isn't really awake enough to argue and suggests talking about it later. That doesn't matter. Meg already booked plane tickets. The flight is in 3 hours. Kate barely has time to react before she's being rushed out the door. At the airport, everything feels like it's about to fall apart. The security line is packed and they're clearly going to miss the flight. Meg refuses to accept that. She flirts with an airport employee just enough to get them pushed ahead. Somehow, it works. They make it through, board the plane, and finally sit down, thinking the worst is over. Then the guy sitting between them shows up. His name is Ryan. He's relaxed, confident, and knows exactly how charming he is. Almost immediately, both Kate and Meg are drawn in. The conversation flows easily. Jokes, smiles, attention going back and forth. Ryan mentions he's flying to Florida for a friend's wedding. That trip doesn't go as planned. A storm hits, and the plane gets rerouted to St. Louis instead. After landing, Kate and Meg head to a hotel and explain that their luggage never made it off the flight. That means they're stuck wearing the same clothes they traveled in. As they head toward the elevator, the doors open, and there's Ryan again. Same flight, same detour. He acts completely unfazed by it. He tells them the wedding isn't happening right away, so he's just rolling with things. He asks if they want to grab drinks later. Both of them agree without thinking twice. Back in their hotel room, the situation starts to sink in. Meg realizes she has nothing else to wear and asks Kate if she can borrow an outfit. Kate checks her own bag and shuts that idea down fast. She only brought one decent dress, and she's not sharing. The tension doesn't explode yet, but it's there. That night, Kate gets dressed and leaves the room to meet Ryan, setting the tone for everything that follows. When Ryan looks around and asks where Meg went, Kate doesn't make a big deal out of it. She casually says Meg isn't coming. A second later, Meg appears anyway. She's wearing a sari, and it completely changes the vibe. People notice. Ryan definitely notices. Meg carries herself like she planned this entrance, and it works. While they're sitting there, a TV nearby switches to a news update. The weather in Florida has taken a turn for the worse. All flights are grounded, and nothing is expected to clear up for at least 3 days. Ryan's face drops. The wedding he's been traveling for is officially not happening. Both Kate and Meg react instantly, each trying to cheer him up in their own way, neither hiding their interest anymore. As the night goes on, the energy shifts. What started as joking around turns into quiet competition. It eventually turns into an actual dance-off, with Kate and Meg both clearly performing for Ryan's attention. During the dancing, Meg's sari slips just enough to pull more eyes her way. The moment gets uncomfortable fast. Not long after that, they call it a night and head back toward the hotel rooms. Before anyone separates, Kate and Meg start arguing. At this point, it's obvious this trip isn't about friendship anymore. They both want the same guy, and neither is willing to pretend otherwise. The next day, Meg suggests doing something big. She wants to go hot air ballooning with Ryan. Kate immediately hates the idea. She's terrified of heights. Ryan casually suggests that maybe he and Meg could go without her.
Kate refuses to let that happen. Even though she's scared, she insists on joining. Once the balloon lifts off the ground, her fear hits hard. She panics cracks, but Ryan stays calm, talks her through it until she slowly settles down. The following day, Kate and Meg are sitting in a coffee shop when they realize Ryan is about to leave town. They rush over to him to find out why. Ryan explains that he's heading to a wedding, not the one he originally planned on, but another one he can still attend. Neither of them likes hearing that. Almost immediately, they suggest he come along with them instead. Ryan thinks about it for a moment, then agrees. They get into a taxi driven by a guy named Craig. The second Craig sees Meg, it's obvious he's interested. In the back seat, Meg leans into the attention. She laughs with Ryan, flirts openly, even starts rubbing lotion onto his hands. Kate watches all of this and doesn't bother hiding how irritated she is. To get back at Meg, she pulls out her phone and shows Ryan an embarrassing photo of her. Meg realizes what Kate did and loses her temper. Soon after, they stop at a gas station. Kate goes inside to use the bathroom. While she's in there, Meg locks the door from the outside and walks away like it's no big deal. She gets back into the car and immediately starts flirting with Ryan again. Kate eventually manages to climb out through a bathroom window, but it's a disaster. She lands straight into a pile of trash and ends up covered in dirt. Ryan asks what happened. She explains that someone locked her in the bathroom and she knows exactly who it was. After cleaning herself up and changing clothes, she gets back into the taxi, clearly done pretending everything is fine. As the drive continues, Kate mentions that her neck is hurting. Ryan offers to help and starts massaging her neck. Meg watches this and can't hide her frustration anymore. Acting without thinking, she dumps a heavy amount of sleeping pills into a bottle of champagne and hands it to Kate. Kate refuses to drink it. Ends up Craig taking the bottle instead. Meg warns him he might feel sleepy. Craig brushes it off, saying he's driven after drinking plenty of times before. As night sets in, the car grows quiet. One by one, everyone drifts off, including Craig. Suddenly, the car slams into a road sign. The crash jolts everyone awake. Shaken but still moving, they eventually reach a hotel. Before going inside, Kate checks the champagne bottle and notices the pills inside. That's when it fully hits her what Meg did. Furious, Kate books a separate room for herself and cuts Meg off completely. Later that night, Meg heads down to the hotel club and starts drinking. Craig shows up there too. They talk for a bit, then he leaves, opening the door for even more chaos to come. Elsewhere in the hotel, Ryan starts looking for Kate. It takes a while, but he eventually finds her. He tells her he's been trying to reach her all night. The tension between them is obvious. Neither of them talks much about it or slows things down. They just go with it, and they end up spending the night together. The next morning, Meg shows up at Kate's room. At first, she tries to keep things calm. She says they shouldn't let a guy ruin years of friendship. Then she steps closer and drops something she knows will land hard. She tells Kate she also slept with Ryan that same night. That's enough to blow things up all over again. Whatever calm existed disappears instantly. Before the argument can spiral further, Craig shows up with news. He says Ryan took his car and left to go to a wedding. Then Craig checks his phone and realizes the truth. Ryan didn't leave for someone else's wedding. He left for his own. That's the moment everything clicks. Kate and Meg go straight to the police and explain what happened. They tell them Ryan played both of them and is about to marry someone without telling her any of this. The police listen but don't really move on it. So Kate and Meg decide they're not waiting around for help. They show up at the wedding uninvited. By the time they arrive, the ceremony is already over. Ryan sees them and immediately tries to slip away, but they stop him. They demand answers and call him out for treating them like some kind of bundle deal. Ryan doesn't apologize. Instead, he turns it back on them. He says they both flirted with him openly, and when people make themselves available, he doesn't pretend to be someone he isn't. Before it turns into a full scene, Ryan's wife steps in. She starts tearing into him right there in front of everyone. Watching that is enough for Kate and Meg. They don't need explanations anymore. They just walk away. After that, Meg kisses Craig and decides to give things a real shot with him. She tells Kate that maybe it's time they stop living together, even if they stay close. Things eventually settle. Kate's principal ends up giving her a promotion, admitting that he always respected how she taught. Meg and Craig become a couple, and after some time apart, Kate and Meg reconnect and move back in together, back to how things used to be. That's where the story ends. If you enjoyed the breakdown, that's the whole ride. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.